Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Cyber. And today we have with us Dr. Sandeep Shukla. He's an IEEE Fellow and ACM Distinguished Scientist. He's currently a professor of Computer Science and Engineering Department, IIT Kanpur, which he headed during 2017 to 2020. Before joining IIT Kanpur in 2015, he was a professor at Virginia Tech in the States. Welcome to the show, Sandeep. It's an honor to have you. And if you would please introduce yourself in your own words to our viewers, that would be wonderful.
Thank you very much, Ankita. I am a professor of computer science and engineering at IIT Kanpur. That's the Indian Institute of Technology at Kanpur, and I actually work in cybersecurity and also in blockchain technology. And I started this cybersecurity center in 2017, funded by the government of India, and we have the only lab in India that has critical infrastructure security setups. Like we have test beds for power distribution, power transmission, power generation. We have water treatment plant, and we have industrial control test beds. And we do a lot of vulnerability assessment, penetration testing on those industrial equipments, and we have disclosed over 25 such vulnerabilities, out of which I think 15 are already having CVE numbers with the National Vulnerability Database in the US. We also work in malware analysis. We work on the honeypots and various other technologies that are associated with cybersecurity. We also run the National Blockchain Project funded by the Prime Minister's Office under the aegis of the National Security Council of the Government of India. And then we recently received a very large grant from the Department of Science and Technology, creating a technology innovation hub in cybersecurity, which is the only such hub, academic hub in India. The charter being the research as well as funding research for other organizations that are interested in cybersecurity to expand the cybersecurity research in India. Also, we fund startups. So we recently funded 14 startups, I believe, 14 or 13 startups, as well as we are going to fund about 25 startups every year, all in cybersecurity. And then we also have a broaden the education in cybersecurity in India. That's also in the charter, and creating awareness is also in the charter of the Technology Innovation Hub. So that's what I'm doing right now.
Well, thank you so much for all that information. I'm sure we'll be talking a lot about, cybersecurity today, and the incredible work that you're doing in cyberspace. And your interests are embedded systems, system level designs, and you've published papers and books on the same. You were also awarded IEEE Fellowship in 2014 for your contribution to applied probabilistic model checking for system design. What motivated or inspired you to start a master's in cybersecurity at IIT Kanpur, or even the advanced certification course for that matter?
Well, that's a long history. What happened is that in 2005 or so, our department at Virginia Tech hired a new department head, Professor James Thorpe, who was a very decorated person, who is one of the inventors of the phasor measurement units that are used universally in power system measurements right now. And also, he had huge contributions in digital relays. And around 2008, I spent a year in France and Germany for my sabbatical. And that time, the breakdown of the banking system hits the world. And I used to come back to Virginia Tech and I used to talk to him because these are all complex systems, and his work is also in complex systems. And I wanted to do something about modeling the
Mhm.
economic activities and so on. And but that did not pan out. And at that time I used to tell him that, look, what I do is only read by few people,
Mhm.
experts in system design, electronic design, automation, etc. But what you do affects the entire power grid. Everybody who is an engineer in power grid knows what you do. And he used to say that then you basically find something that you think is interesting to you, and you do something that is relevant
Yeah.
to the larger set of people. And then fortunately at that same time I received a large grant with my colleague in power system. I was in computer engineering and he was in power system engineering, Professor Lamin Milli. Yeah, it's a $2 million grant for 4 years to study the interdependence of two critical infrastructures. And
Wow.
started studying the interdependence of communication network and the power system. And then I started modeling power system events and how they get affected by the communication, because nowadays the power system is very distributed. Your substation sends all kinds of stuff to the control center sends back all kinds of stuff to the power system, various things, PMU data relay, all that stuff is based on communication. So we actually developed a communication power system co-simulation system. And then we wanted to study what we can study there. And then we studied inducing cyber attacks on such systems. Sometimes the attacks are mostly through the communication part of the system, and that led us to a lot of that led to a lot of interest in the power system world. Even though I was not a power system person, but I sat through about 7 courses. Virginia Tech Power System Group was very good, and Professor Thorpe, Professor Arun Fatke, Lamin Mili, Jaime, these guys are very good in power system. So I learned a lot about power system. And then I also did a co-simulation on top of this co-simulation with the supervisory control and data acquisition system through a grant from General Electric. And at that time in 2015, I decided to come back to India for my mother, and I got an offer from IIT Kanpur. And then I said, I looked around and I saw what was going on in the name of cybersecurity in India was mostly cryptography in the academic world.
Mm-hmm.
Very few work was going on in the real cybersecurity. Also, with the help of my colleague Professor Manindra Agarwal, who knows a lot of people in the government, we met various agencies and we tried to figure out what they need in cybersecurity, etc. And then we realized that critical infrastructure security, which I was already dabbling with in the power and in network co-simulation world. So I decided to propose a center for cybersecurity for critical infrastructures, and large part of that grant was to actually create the test beds, because the simulation world you cannot do every kind of events, especially attacking the power system equipment, the industrial IoT devices that goes into the industrial control system, or the OT, the operational technology systems. So we actually received the grant after lots of presentations we had to make, but eventually we got about 15 crores, which translates to about I guess $3 million or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then we started getting other grants like Indo-Israel grants and various other grants. So and more you get responsibility, more you have to learn. And
Yeah.
then we go to various utilities, we do VAPT, we do various things. So we went on learning, and then we got the idea that we need more engineers who actually are cybersecurity specialized. And then the question is, how do you do that? Now, IIT students, it's one of the best institutes in India, but
Yeah.
they are very focused on placement. So
Yes.
so there is placement at the end of their degree, and usually that placement happens in their early days of their fourth year, and they actually look for the jobs that will have the highest pay, and the highest pay is usually from banks or from this securities companies, even financial securities companies. So cybersecurity is not really in their radar. Many of them actually float towards machine learning, data analytics, etc., because that helps them in those jobs, but not in the security. So therefore, we said we should train the professionals who are already in that business,
Mhm.
because they are not going to look for placement in a new area. They will try to go further ahead in their own area. So, with the help of this company called Talent Sprint, which was in high tech education, we did we did start this program. We are just finishing the third cohort. So, first cohort was in starting in 2020 February. It's a 6 months, almost 6 months course with 120 hours of live teaching from us, lots of hands-on activities, lots of capture the flag contests that we organize, a lot of projects, hands-on projects, and they have to do capstone project. And we just are about to publish a book, an edited book on the first cohort's capstone projects. It's being published from Netherlands, from Rivers Publishers. So it's a good thing that we are doing it. We are also learning in the process, because these are professionals who had a lot of questions that are german to their job. So it's not an academic, kind of course. It's more industry relevant course. So we like it. And interestingly, the Challenge Sprint decided that they will launch another course now, but that's not live. That will be based on the videos that they have recorded in the last few courses. And this is targeted towards fresh graduates. So, fresh in India, you know that there are a lot of engineering colleges, private colleges that take a lot of money from the students, but they cannot give placement because they are not really industry ready.
Well,
They,
I know a lot about IIT. It's because one of our co-founders, he did his masters in corrosion engineering from IIT Bombay. And
okay.
when I was in India, my father actually wanted me to study in IIT, which
Mhm.
didn't happen because I wasn't just interested to become an engineer. But I want to tell my viewers that IIT is it comes in top 100, I think, top 100 universities in the world. Uh,
Well, it depends on what ranking you are looking at. So that's a struggle. So
True
normally,
one, yeah. I mean, I recently looked at IIT Bombay. It is still 32nd. I'm not sure
yeah,
about IIT Kanpur, but so I was looking at,
yeah. Kanpur came out to be this time in QS ranking. I think in 80s or something. So
yeah, it's still in top hundreds. Come on. I mean,
yeah,
I was looking at the ranking for the University of Auckland. I wanted to have some sort of degree from there, and I had a look at the ranking of University of Auckland. It was, I think, um, 60s or 60 something. I'm not sure, but yeah, 32nd was for IIT Bombay, and I was like, wow, and people know a lot about IIT Bombay and IITs in general here. When I was in India, I thought this is I mean, I was young, and I only thought that IIT is the thing in India, and not people don't know about IIT outside of India. But I
right.
was wrong. A lot of people know about IIT here. So yeah,
Yeah, so that's actually thanks to the students. So we get very good students
yeah,
because the exams are very difficult, and therefore they eventually go and do well. And like right now, the IIT alumni is heading Google. Another IIT alumni is heading IBM. Another IIT
yeah.
alumni is heading something else. So it's a because of them we have this reputation. Also, those
The
that
teachers,
generation.
I think a good credit goes to the teachers and people like you.
Well, I don't know. I think that the you can be a very good teacher, but if your students are not doing well later,
Mm,
then it's difficult and to get the reputation. But the problem I feel is that the current generation is very different. So I don't expect to sit the same kind of success as those guys, because those guys are from a time when IITs were very students were not so placement oriented. The job scenario in India was not that great, so they were all going for masters and PhD in abroad. Now you hardly see them going for studies, because
yeah.
sitting in India, they can get very very highly paying jobs. and then
That's
they actually don't further do further studies and so on. So I don't think that it will be the same 20 years from now, but we'll see.
Well, it's like my dream come true talking to you from IIT Kanpur. I didn't get the admission, but hey, come on. I mean, I am associated with IIT in some way, so that's a good achievement for myself. And I mean, this is India's first cybersecurity research center for critical infrastructure, and I'm sure many will be proud that India has facilities similar to NIST in the USA and other countries. How has it been contributing to Safe India and government agencies?
Well, I see the goal was to be like NIST or the one in the all the national labs like Sandia and Idaho National Labs and so on. I think they had more test beds and so on. So I don't think we are exactly equivalent, but we have enough test beds and so on. So we cannot finish even utilizing them.
Mm-hmm.
uh, in terms of cybersecurity, so I have been on various committees. So I have served in two cybersecurity ad hoc committees to come up with cybersecurity policies for RBI, the Central Bank of India, that is the Reserve Bank of India, for online payments and also card-based payments. I am on the high-powered committee for cybersecurity for the SEBI, that is the Security Exchange Commission, Exchange Board of India, that regulates the stock markets and stock exchanges and so on. And also currently I'm on two committees of the Power Ministry that are actually framing the regulations for cybersecurity of power utilities and their vendors, etc. So having worked in all these things, it feels like I'm taking my knowledge to serve the security of the country, which feels good. I have been also in the cybersecurity committee of the UIDAI, that is the Aadhaar authority, the Universal Identity Authority. Although I resigned from there because I was not happy with how things work there. But in general, I think that there is a lot more to do, and I think that I would be very proud to contribute more. And there is a palpable change in the cybersecurity activities by the government in last 6 months or so, after several attacks were found to be coming to utilities and ports and all that stuff. So we are seeing a lot more reach out to us from those organizations. So I am hoping that we can help, but you can only help as much as they are willing to take help, right? So
Yeah, exactly. And though there are strict IT rules and regulations in India, we still have companies and organizations falling prey to hackers. What do you think is the problem here?
well, a law is as good as its enforcement, right? So
Mhm.
you can have very strict laws, but if you don't enforce it, then it's not going to be a law, right? So GDPR is very strictly enforced, or in the US, various HIPAA and other laws are very strictly enforced. You get fines and all that stuff. Or
Yeah,
power system, they have SIP. So if you are in violation, you get even a $1 million a day until you correct the
yeah,
violation fines. Here we don't have that. Even in IT Act, the amount of fines that are associated with hacking is about 1 to 3 lakhs or of rupees, which is nothing
nothing.
compared to the money they would make by hacking. Second is the attribution forensics has to improve to actually even make a case in court to actually
Mm.
bring a person to justice. So I think that there needs to be a paradigm shift. There needs to be a strengthened IT law with and also regulation, right? So now we are drafting the power utilities regulation. Until now, there were advisories, but there was no strict. And if you don't have a cybersecurity person or team in your organization, you will not even understand what those
What
advisories
those? Yeah,
want you to do. So therefore, there is a reluctance. A bank, board member of a bank told me, I was giving a talk, and he told me that it is cheaper for him to pay for a ransom than to pay salary and all the cybersecurity controls that he
Please
has.
tell me please tell me that's not true. Please tell me that.
Yes, that's what he said, and actually they paid ransom,
Oh
and
my God.
I was flabbergasted by that, and the fact that this is happening even though RBI has very strong regulations about cybersecurity. In fact, I don't know about the enforcement, how they enforce it, whether they fine. But as a member of the SEBI High Powered Committee, we have fined organizations for wrong cybersecurity control and not having the
Mhm,
uh, testing before they actually released some app that could have been breached and various ways. So I think it depends on the regulatory teeth you give with the
mhm.
law, and if it doesn't happen, then your law is no good. So that's what my experience is.
And based on your observations, Sandeep, how have the threats been evolving, and what do you expect in future?
So in India, the threats are actually getting worse and worse, especially well, there are several different types of activities going on. So there are
Mhm.
financial crime gangs who actually do various kinds of social engineering to
Yeah.
actually cheat people and part with their money. And there has been cases where police has been able to arrest some, but it continues. The awareness of people being one of the major problem. The awareness is very low, and suddenly going very digital in all aspects of banking and all that stuff has not helped them. Second, the other threat that I see is that the critical infrastructure. Critical infrastructure, as I said, that the power utilities still don't have a regulatory framework in which they have to comply with certain cybersecurity requirement. And Recorded Future in last March reported that 10 Indian organizations, two of them were ports and eight of them were utility power. They were sending beacons to Chinese command and control servers, which means that those were infected already with some kind of a Trojan or some kind of a advanced persistent threat. And the time they took to actually fix those was almost a couple of weeks, which should have been fixed immediately. But
Immediately. Mm.
the bigger problem I felt at that point is that why can't we find them, that this is happening? Why does a foreign company has to come and tell us that we are seeing signs
Yeah.
of compromise, right? But after that incident and the fact that our geopolitical scenario is currently a little bit uh, strange, so therefore we see a lot of activities from the government starting. Obviously, the power ministry has been very forthcoming in pushing these things, but I believe the other ministries are also doing so, and thereby I think that government is very cognizant of the fact that in case of a conflict at the border or something, we might be actually very badly attacked in the cyberspace, and they are preparing for that. The preparation, what I understood, working with all this, is that the cybersecurity is also a lot of the problems has to do with regulation rather than technology. Also, the how you enforce your regulation and how you convince people. The utilities
Mhm.
are often not convinced that they will be a target because they might say that we are very small or we are not
Yeah.
connected to the internet, even though they are connected to the
Yeah.
internet.
Correct.
I
Yeah.
don't think they're connected to the internet because they don't have a website. So these kind of things has to change. But overall, I believe that, and I don't know if you have seen this book by Nicole Parlroth. She's a
Mhm.
New York Times cybersecurity reporter. She recently released a book, and it was fascinating read about the zero-day vulnerability markets and zero-click vulnerability markets. cyber weapons, and how governments are buying these cyber, these exploits and vulnerabilities from these black hat hackers. So this scenario, and recently you have heard about Pegasus and all
Yep.
these things, which makes me believe that we are in a very, very dangerous world, and at some kind of a precipice where we might actually get into a cyber war with some entity.
Yeah.
So, and
Yeah,
yeah,
I was recently having a talk with someone, and I said we're developing these new tools and technologies, but we don't know how to, protect ourselves from these technologies.
mm,
We're just building new products,
right,
and we're making you know we're basically inviting threats.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so another thing that is happening is that cybersecurity. Many often people think that privacy is about cybersecurity. Actually, privacy and cybersecurity are actually a matter of, I would say, compromise, right? Because
Hmm.
if you want to have strict privacy, then you cannot have visibility into your
True.
network, right? So what is happening in your network, because you respect privacy. On the other hand, you have to respect, you cannot not have visibility in what is happening in your network, what is passing through the network, what is being connected to, etc. So therefore there has to be strict regulatory regimen for privacy also, right? So if the organization is collecting all that information, there should be a regulatory regimen to protect the workers, etc., from privacy breach, and certain types of personal information should not be, even if it's collected, it should be deleted
Yeah.
after analysis is done. We don't have a data protection bill. It has been lying in the parliament for 2 years, and it is actually, I am not very happy with the current version of the bill, because the committee that drafted it, the chairman of that committee, is unhappy about the current version of the bill, because it gives government the complete veto power to forego any privacy regulation when they say so-called national interest. And that itself is, to me, a no, a complete, unacceptable law. But that law itself is languishing in the parliament. There has not been any debate. The IT is, standing committee of the parliament has not been able to function properly. So that law may not come very soon. In the meantime, the privacy breach is happening all the time. Like if
Yeah.
somebody delivers me a package, they ask for my Aadhaar card, and the
Exactly.
other, and this is, Supreme Court said that you can only use Aadhaar card for tax, and for public distribution system. If you're a beneficiary, you cannot use it for anything else. But bank is asking me for Aadhaar card. The telecommunication companies are asking me for Aadhaar card. Even the person who is delivering a package wants a copy of my Aadhaar card, and
Hmm.
the copy of an Aadhaar card is as good as a card, because there is no real
Exactly.
card.
Yeah.
So there has been a issue with privacy that is getting worse and worse, and people are so unaware of the laws and the Supreme Court judgment and all that stuff. And but so I think that I'm going to I'm going to say that I'm not very hopeful. Although in terms of critical infrastructure security, there has been quite a bit of effort, but there has been a lot of pushback also from utilities. Although that is their pushback is actually being argued back, and probably that will not hold, and will have a strong enough, not very strong, but reasonably good regulations coming up. But
Hmm.
then the question is, who will be the regulator, and how capable are they in enforcing the regulation?
Yeah.
That is another thing. So cybersecurity is very complex.
That's whole new topic to
Yeah,
debate on.
right.
Now, IIT Kanpur has been in the forefront of when it comes to providing certifications, be it in blockchain, cybersecurity, and others. Though blockchain has been around for a couple of years, and there have been startups centered around blockchain technology. Where do you see it in the upcoming years? The blockchain.
Yeah, so the way I look at blockchain, so cryptocurrency, I don't approve of, because
Mhm.
because I think that it is kind of a gambling right
Yep.
now. Although the creation of the Bitcoin was to have more, equitable economy, and also cutting out the third party, that is the banks and all that stuff. So it was very worthy goals, but the proof of work consensus has become so expensive that we have a problem. So, for example, we did analysis on the cryptocurrency data on Ethereum, and we found that top 1% has 90% of the currencies. So
Oh,
it's worse than the regular economic inequality. We also saw that most activities are done by 90% of, 10% people, and that other 90% almost does nothing. So anyway, and then the even Elon Musk can actually say, tweet something, and the prices go drop,
oh, yeah.
and then
That was crazy.
Twitter founder says something, prices go up. So this is not something that I would invest in even, and the original idea of cryptocurrency was not as an investment instrument, but more for transaction without having the bank intervention. But what the blockchain to me is a trust enabler. So you
Hmm.
can have multiple, mutually untrusting entities who can actually work together, and because of the technology and the way the consensus mechanism works, and the cryptography of and hashes and hash chains, etc., you get a very high probability that things can, once a transaction has been committed, it will not be reverted. And so we are working with the Karnataka government, which is one of the states in India where Bangalore is. So we are almost there. On 15th August or around that, we'll be actually releasing the pilot of that blockchain based land record registration, because
Hmm.
record registration data has been found to have been tampered with by insiders in the past. We are also doing some work on cold chain, on blockchain, like for vaccine, cold chain tracking vaccines and all that stuff, and frozen food tracking. We also do a lot of work in, what we call self-sovereign identity, which basically allows users to actually have full control on who and what part of the identity he shares with zero knowledge proof techniques and all that. So I think I find these aspects of blockchain as a trust enabler is very, very useful, and actually is the way to go. And I see the government is also very cognizant of that, and there has been a lot of efforts. But there are multiple different white papers of strategy, blockchain strategy. One is from Niti Aayog, and another is from the Ministry of IT and Electronics, which I don't know, why there are two government strategies. There are various things that also there is a lot of misunderstanding even among the uh, so-called experts. Is that there are like misconceptions, like some people would say, "Well, how would you put a property registration data on blockchain, because when you sell the property you cannot go back and change it." So I'm like, that's not how it works. New sale is a new transaction. You record the new transaction. So
Yeah.
and refer to the previous transaction. So these are the kind of things that are often creating hindrance, and people consider them as experts. So therefore they actually get confused by such comments.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I think that there are slowly a lot of activities. There is also financial market. There is DeFi
Mhm.
that is developing. Also, I hear that there is will be a blockchain based central bank digital currency that the Reserve Bank might be toying with the idea for digital currency. So I think that blockchain has a good future in India, and I see growth path there.
Awesome. That's great to hear. And Kruben, a company that has been incubated at IIT Kanpur. Tell us a
Yeah.
bit more about that.
Yeah. So what happened is that when we got the national blockchain project, it was a 3.4 crore project. but Dr. Gulshan Rai was the person who actually wanted us to do the project, and that project. Basically, the idea was that we have to have a very robust blockchain-based products for e-governance.
Mm-hmm.
Because the e-governance means that on blockchain would enable further trust between the citizens and the government. When they give their data to the government, they want to make sure that data is not tampered with, and their rights on a property is not tampered with, etc. So the project was actually designed to be in three phases. First phase was feasibility study, which was 6 months. We finished that, and then there was 2 years of R&D, which we finished. And now we are in the third stage, where the project itself said that since you are an academic institute, you cannot go and providing service to government entities to actually build their
Content.
e-governance platforms on blockchain, etc. So you create a non-profit company that will actually do this, and it's 100% owned by IIT Kanpur. So this fortunately, four of our students. Normally, very few IIT students actually, not go for this lucrative, high-paying job and do startup. Some do, but not a lot. But these four students who were involved in our project R&D part, they actually agreed to do this.
Wow.
So therefore now we have the company, and they are the one who are doing Karnataka one. They are about to get another one. I hear from government of Karnataka, and also we are talking to various entities like the national e-governance department, to actually see if we can use self-sovereign identity on top of DigiLocker solution. We are also talking to Ministry of IT and Electronics through a organization called CDAC to do this cold chain tracking. So the company is doing well, and actually not in terms of revenue, but in terms of getting things done. So hopefully it will eventually also translate to revenue.
Into
Right
revenue.
now, they are funded by the grant that we got as National Blockchain Project, but
Right.
eventually they have to earn revenue. So I and my co-PI, or actual PI, Professor Manindra Agarwal, are the promoters of the company, and then the students are also promoters of the company, and they have now, I think, 18, 19 people working. So
Wow.
it's doing well. Yeah,
And I think I've been following Kruben on LinkedIn. You guys
Hmm.
are hiring a lot more people, so that's
Yeah,
that's great to see the company growing and
yeah,
doing fabulous work in
yeah,
blockchain.
yeah. These are very
Um,
smart students. Yeah.
and why do you think students and even professionals don't want to switch to a rewarding career like cybersecurity? If you look at the statistics, India is expected to see an increase in the number of unfulfilled cybersecurity jobs. So, what do you think is the issue here?
So cybersecurity. So India has a very large number of bug bounty hunters. If you know, right? If you
Yes,
go to
yes,
any,
I
yeah.
do.
So I was asked actually yesterday only. Like, one reporter called me and asked me, like, uh, he's writing some article, and I said, like, if there are so many bug bounty hunters, why is there such a dearth of professionals? And I was telling him that this is an asymmetric war, right? So bug bounty hunting, you have to find one vulnerability, two vulnerabilities in a system,
Exactly.
whereas the person who actually is defending has to actually think of all possibilities, the
All the
entire attack
possibilities.
surface. He has to know how to do risk modeling. He has to know how to do the cybersecurity control, and also he has to understand all the entire system stack. The attack could be at the hardware level by side channel. Attack could be at the firmware level to operating system, network, and all that stuff, to applications. So therefore, it's a harder job. Actually, it's almost a 24/7 attention job, because if things don't work, then you are going to get into problem.
Yes,
Now, so therefore, doing a job where you have to do some programming for, maybe 10 hours, 12 hours a day, but the after that you don't have to think a whole lot. Although those products also, if they don't work, you will be in trouble, but at least, it's not a continuous surveillance type of job. So that I feel is very very intimidating for a lot of people. Also, bugs bounty, the reporter was asking me, can we train these bug bounty hunters to actually become cyber security experts? And my guess is not, because bugs bounty people normally target like companies like Facebook, Google, etc. They know how to find bugs in apps. They know how to find bugs in web applications. But that does not require you to actually draw on a very in-depth knowledge of operating system, firmware, cyber, various things, which they have to learn from scratch.
From
And many of
scratch,
them are
right?
not even many of them are not even like a cyber security, I mean computer science people. They are just
Yeah.
doing it. Many high school dropouts or college dropouts do that, and they are earning a lot of money. So so I think that this is going to be a challenge, and uh, I particularly think that the best way to go is to actually get professionals who are in this field and retrain them, than trying to get students who have no idea, what the world is like and what the threats are, to actually encourage them. Although many of our students do cybersecurity, but not at the extent to the extent that we would like, and we would need to fulfill the chain. Now, government also has a program, training program, which is run by Data Security Council of India. It's under the Skill India program, but
Hmm.
I don't think that that can actually create real cybersecurity professionals. So, because cybersecurity professionals need a lot more in-depth understanding of every part of the system stack. Uh, I think that that's kind of like, maybe technician kind of thing. Like they can go and sit in the cyber operation center, security operation center SOCs, and look at the screens, escalate the alarms to their higher ups, etc. But I don't see them actually, doing risk analysis and doing risk driven, security architecture, all that stuff. That requires a lot more extensive training. So yeah, it is a problem, but it's a worldwide problem also. But in India, it might be actually bigger problem than. But then the cybersecurity push is coming now. So
Yeah.
earlier the push was not there. So that's why probably the job market will expand now. The
Hmm.
projections that we see are often projection based on the assumption that everybody will try to make their system secure. That assumption is going to come true now when the regulations and the push from the government will
Yeah.
become higher. So I think, so that numbers might be a little inflated, but it will probably become reality. Those numbers will become reality once the push comes.
I was recently looking at a survey, and for New Zealand, it said that only 6% of companies have proper measures when it comes to cybersecurity. What is the number? Do you have a number in India? I mean, we are a team of 5 million in New Zealand. We're a small country. What's the number looking like in India?
If I have to guess, I would say that banks in India are probably doing it.
Hmm.
Maybe security exchanges are doing it, because they are
What,
they
what
they are
about
the
what about the private companies?
MNCs might be doing it. Like if there is a Intel here in Bangalore, they might be doing it as part of their entire corporate measurements thing. But I don't see Indian companies doing it. Uh, I might be wrong, but especially if they're not very very large companies, they are probably not doing it. We are actually consulting one of a very like they thousands of crores revenue company.
Hmm.
Actually, it's a public sector, and when we went in, they had an attack. That because of that they came to us, and we went in. I asked, where is your cybersecurity policy? And they said, what policy? So then
Oh,
we
okay.
drafted a policy, and the policy became like 90 pages, and they were like, this is too much, and we don't. So yeah, I said you have to think all aspects of it, the user behavior. You have to put policy on that and all that. Network usage, how do you dispose of your equipments, and how do you take backups and all that.
Yeah.
So then they accepted the policy document, but I don't know how they're enforcing it. So once
Yeah.
you adopt a policy, but then you don't enforce it, then also it
Um,
won't work. So we have to see
like
with.
even in New Zealand, a lot of companies are doing compliances and penetration testing just to tick the boxes, and they don't know what's happening. They just need a report to tick a box, and that's it. So I think it's same with India and any other country. For New Zealand, it's quite a new thing still, but I think India. eh, I'm not sure. I think India is doing good in terms of cybersecurity.
If I have to grade, I would say it's a D,
Hmm.
but hopefully it will go to a C and B, in next few years, and maybe an A later. There was a report that India is 10th in the cybersecurity, activities, among the countries, which I believe has happened because of the recent pushes by the various
Hmm.
ministries on cybersecurity, which actually is positive. I believe that it's a positive development, and we have been involved in some of that, and I feel good that I have been asked to be of service there, and I believe that more should be done, and
Yeah.
uh, private industry has no compliance requirements unless they are financial or bank. That those things need to change.
Yeah.
GDPR type of thing should be there, in order for them to do. Now, some companies who work business in Europe, they are GDPR compliant, but the others are not. So therefore, things will change, but I think it will be
Take
a
some
slow
time. Yeah.
progress.
And lastly, the hot topic, Sandeep, Pegasus. What's your take on it?
Well, we got 6 samples of Pegasus from a company called CloudSec, and we analyzed it.
Hmm.
Uh, and our analysis showed that this, so out of six, two were, 4 were distinct, other were duplicates. So
Okay.
this four, they all have this thing that for what they do is they root the phone, they take permission for everything, they register a broadcast receiver in the phone so they can get all the SMSs and all other events that are coming, going and coming back and forth between apps. And then it basically takes over your phone and it can do anything
Yeah.
it wants. And the question then is that the delivery mechanism is zero click, which means that the user doesn't have to do click a
Right.
link or download something and all that stuff. Now, yesterday I was in a panel where some political analyst was trying to tell me that spying has been there all the time, and therefore phone tapping was there in previous generation governments and all that stuff. So therefore it's not it's something that not a big deal. Now, to me, that is very, very
Yeah.
poor comparison,
Concerning.
because phone tapping used to happen by the phone companies, because if everything was analog, or even during digital, all the data was going plain, in the plane, no encryption, so you anybody can record it, and then
Yeah.
it can give it to anybody they want. The This one actually, let's say you expect, you think that I am doing anti-national activity or something, and then still you have no right to know about my girlfriend or boyfriend,
Yeah.
and the pictures they exchange, or the letters they exchange, or my other details. You can listen to when somebody is speaking to a suspected terrorist,
Yeah.
in the worst case, but in this case you are actually completely, and you can turn on camera and microphone, So you can see my private moments. You can
Yes.
also see when I meet somebody who I am meeting and all that stuff.
It's
That
like a
is
window to your house. You can just,
right.
yes.
So it's worse than a window to your multiple windows to your house, and basically and they end up spy behind you all the time,
True,
right?
true.
So it's basically a spy in your pocket. So therefore, I think that that kind of privacy breach should not be allowed by any law.
Hmm.
So first is there has to be a legal regime change, but I feel that there has to be more than that. There has to be more than that because the problem I feel is that there has been there this cyber weapons, the weaponizing of the vulnerabilities in software. This Nicole Perrot's book actually has 500 pages of its evolution and how it is and all that stuff. But I think that this should be UN should come together, bring together countries to actually put a moratorium on that. And
Hmm.
that's what actually Snowden said recently, that this is not a problem we can solve technologically or even nationally, because if a nation doesn't do it, its neighboring nation can do it on its ministers and defense personnel and all that stuff. So there has to be some international movement in terms of like a nuclear moratorium or nuclear non-proliferation. So that's why the company, it's like people who export these tools and technology should be held to account to for this. So Israel is doing the right thing by actually investigating this. New Zealand, sorry, the France is investigating this, but our government somehow says that it is not worth investigating because it's hearsay. But the problem is that some of the phones have been tested by the Amnesty's lab, and
Hmm.
they have been found to have been compromised by Pegasus. The question is then, let's assume that the government didn't have anything to do with it. Then it is even worse, because then it means that either some rogue
Yeah.
personnel within the government is doing it without permission, or it is being done by neighboring countries. In either case, this is a national security issue.
Yeah, sure.
So
Hmm.
if it is a national security issue, it needs investigation, thorough investigation about who is doing it, why they're doing it, and what kind of data they have gathered. Because some of them are politicians, some of them are Supreme Court judges, and even some are apparently ministers and all that stuff. So this is a national security problem, and we should treat it as such rather than saying that this
Worth
is not
it.
a problem.
Worth it.
So I
Mhm.
think that is my take on this.
Well, thank you so much, Sandeep. It was wonderful talking to you, and thank you so much for your valuable time today.
Sure.
And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with our viewers. It has been a great conversation with you, and I wish you all the best. And thank you so much for your time today.